Welcome to the Jaybefaunt channel. I am your host, James Fauntleroy. So good to see all of you on this Tuesday afternoon. It is October 21st. Wow. 2025. We are live. So good to see all of you here joining me as per usual. Good to see all of you and welcome back. If you guys have not already, you guys can also watch on places like YouTube, Twitter, Rumble, and Kick. If you guys have not already, please go ahead and give a like to the stream. This helps me out very much to be able to reach more people, to help educate, inform, and inspire and activate. So thank you very much for that. If you guys have not already, you guys can also subscribe to me at Substack at jaybefaunt.substack.com. I give email notifications whenever I write any clips, go live, or have any articles, any clips, write articles, or upload any clips, so you guys have that there as well. Also, if you guys would like to, you guys can always reach me at qbounty.com for any time you guys want any video responses to any questions you may have, or you guys would like to me to react to a video that you guys find interesting. You guys can do it through qbounty at qbounty.com/Jaybefaunt. So thank you very much. There. Is my camera a little? All right, I think we're good. All right, guys, good to see all of you here as well. We got a lot to get into today, so I'm going to try to make sure that I get as thorough as possible and as quickly as possible. And so just trying to make sure that I keep this stream nice and tight and copacetic. But first, what we're going to do is we're going to actually say hello to everybody in the chat, and we will get into our stories for today. So let's go in first. We have Edward saying, "What's up, JB? What's up, Edward? Good to see you here in the chat." We have Austin coming in saying, "Hopefully we can unite together to defeat the Axis powers." Yep. People powers activate. Let me see. Let's go into the next one. We said we have Byron. Byron says, "We people need to stop begging and groveling for crumbs. They want us to beg and grovel for crumbs. We need to determine what is the commons, inform them it's ours, and defend it and each other." Thank you very much for Byron. Appreciated that very much. Yes. Now let's continue on. We have Jacqueline coming in saying, "Hey, JB. Hey, everyone." All right. Roger Meadows, you... I guess in this way, like Diddy can't stop, won't stop. He says, "Anthony Anderson, what's up?" I'm gonna get you for that one, Roger. I'm gonna get you for that one. Thank you so very much. We have Vicky coming in saying, "Buggy internet." Yeah, I don't know what's going on. Maybe it's, do I have too many tabs open again? Probably. Let me see here. Let me take this down. I had to take a couple of tabs down again, because unfortunately, this is what happens when you're live. Hang on, let me get that. I can take that down too. Sorry, guys. Just want to make sure I keep only the essential tabs that I absolutely need open. So we got that down. And I can take that down too. All right. I think we should be good for the most part. Let me know if it still has a bit of a lag, okay? I don't see it on my side. I took a few things down. So also, let me take this down on my computer too, because that could also be affecting my computer performance. Take that down, close that out. Sometimes I wish I had an AI assistant like Jarvis from Iron Man. All right. Are we better now? Let me know in the comments. All right. So thank you very much for that, Vicky. We have Sean coming in saying, "Hey, JB, just punch out from my lunch break. Talk about perfect timing. Justice for Palestine." Thank you very much. We have Terry coming in. Terry coming in saying, "Hi, Jacqueline. Good to see you." All right. We have Kimes. It says, hey, JB in the place to be, and he's got to take the rock the mic, right? All right. Thank you so very much. Yeah. Let me see. All right. So, and Vicky says it seems better. All right. So hopefully it holds. All right. So thank you very much for that, Miss Vicky. All right. Now, I'm just checking to see, making sure my internet access is holding up. All right. Let's get into this because there's a couple of stories that I really want to get into. One of them is going to be more time sensitive, so I really want to get into this. And also the clip for this will be coming out immediately tomorrow because of the time sensitivity of it. They're still lagging in the video. Let me do this. I'm gonna go out, refresh, and come right back. So just hang on. Give me 1 second. I just want to make sure I get this done right. Okay. Are we good? Is there still a lag? Let me know. All right. So I think we're okay. Yeah. Firepo, that this was happening last time. So I'm just trying to make sure that things are more clear and smooth. I think we're pretty much good. Still a little bit laggy. We're gonna have to press on because I want to make sure I get done on time. So yeah, we shall press on. Is the sound also kind of lagging a little bit too? Let me know. Is it press on, good brother? All right. Okay, so we're gonna press on because really need to get to these stories. This one is really time sensitive, and I want to make sure I get to this because I also do have some resources to share with people. All right, let's get it on. Thank you very much. All right, so what are we going to be talking about today? Let's get into the thumbnails, and we shall get on with this as well. All right. So make sure we get into this. So we have 3 stories today, as usual. So a little bit later in the show, we're going to be talking about just kids. What did JD Vance say, and why in the world is he delusional? Is it delusion, or is it just he's trying to downplay because he does not want people to see the Republican Party for what it is? Honestly, and I'm going to be asking the question, is anybody really surprised? A lot of us aren't surprised, but at the same time, I got a few thoughts that I would like to give in response to the story. This story has been all over the news, but I want to give it from my perspective as somebody who's actually on the left, not a right-wing liberal, because liberals are literally right-wing. So we're going to be getting into that a little bit later. Then we're also going to be talking about Orlando, how it puts profits over people. We're going to be talking about a historic Black neighborhood that is constantly being overlooked on purpose, and the priorities are out of whack. And so there's investment going on, but it's not in the people. But first, we're going to be talking about this very, very serious story that's going to be happening. It's going to be affecting millions of Americans across this country, and this needs to be talked about immediately. We're going to be talking about SNAP benefits slash. So this is going to be a big story for anybody who receives SNAP benefits or anybody that may be receiving any type of emergency assistance. I want to make sure that we get the information out there so that people will know exactly what is what and how they can actually navigate through it. So we're going to be talking about SNAP cutoff. We're going to get into that right now. Why is the SNAP benefits being cut by November 1st? What we're going to do is we're going to be going over the reason why SNAP benefits will be cut. And then we're also going to be talking about how this works into the system that we currently live in and how it works into exploitation. Another thing that I want to discuss as well is we're not just going to leave you out in the lurch and think, oh, well, these SNAP benefits are cut, all is lost, we're doomed, we're going to starve to death. No, that's another reason why I wanted to do this story, is because I'm also going to direct you to resources that you can get to so that you may be able to weather this storm as well when it comes to these SNAP benefits being cut potentially by November 1st. This is going to be very serious. The reason supplemental nutrition assistance program, aka back they used to call it food stamps, is going to be affecting millions of Americans as we speak, really for the entire month of November and really ongoing, maybe even into December because of the government shutdown. So we're going to be getting into that story right now, because this is going to be affecting a lot of people who are poor and working poor. And there's a huge contingent of people who fall under that category. So we're going to be getting into this right now. So it says millions of Americans are at risk of losing food stamps next month amid shutdown. So let's take a look at this. It says roughly 42 million people are at risk of losing critical food assistance in November amid the federal government shutdown. And it's not clear whether the Trump administration will step in to find the funds to continue paying benefits, as it has with other priorities. The food stamp program will run out of money in 2 weeks, Agriculture Secretary Brooke Rollins told reporters at the White House on Thursday. So you're talking about millions and millions of vulnerable families, of hungry families that are not going to have access to these programs because of this shutdown. Like other members of the Trump administration, Rollins cast blame on the Democrats, posting on X Thursday that they are putting their political agenda ahead of food security for American families. The Democrats have urged Republicans are at fault for being unwilling to negotiate a spending deal that includes extension of expiring enhanced Obamacare premium subsidies. Rollins' comments came a week after the U.S. Department of Agriculture told states that there are not enough money to pay full food stamp benefits in November if the lapse in federal funding continues. The agency asked states to hold off on November payments until further notice. About 1 in 8 Americans receive help buying food through the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, or SNAP, the formal name for food stamps, a key pillar of the nation's safety net. The program provides enrollees with an average monthly benefit of $188 per person as of May. So here's the thing. I want to make this abundantly clear. First of all, they say it covers $188 per person in regards to covering nutrition assistance programs. When was the last time these people actually been to a grocery store? That's my first question. $188 per person. Oh, absolute bare bone staples. That's it. Maybe rice, beans, and maybe some cheap processed meat, and that's it. SNAP stands for Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program. They're not really pushing for the nutrition part because healthy food tends to be more expensive. And people, please don't come into my comments telling me, oh, well, all you got to do is finagle it this way. You're able to afford. No, 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 no. No, no. It is more expensive. It is. That's just the way it is. And so, unfortunately, there are millions of Americans, and myself included, that also depend on food stamps each month. I'm not one of the ones. Oh, no, baby. I am one of the ones. You're talking to a real, live, red-blooded human being right now that is also dependent on these type of programs because of a system that tends to exploit us. And no, it's not because we don't work hard enough. No, it's because the system exploits us to the point where we have to depend on these different assistance programs because we're not getting paid a living wage. Because you have a bunch of parasites that are, in the upper echelons of our economic system that hoard all the wealth. So therefore, we don't make a living wage because even though we may work part-time or full-time, but we still just can't make it because we're not given the real value of the work that we do. And so that's why. And then some of us, we just fall in hard times. And that happens to millions of us. Way too often. But this is what's happening. And so 42 million. 42 million. You're telling me that's what, about 12% of the population? 12% of the population? And those are the people who qualify. Just because you don't get food stamps doesn't mean you don't need it. Because there's a bunch of people who actually should qualify, but because the numbers are so outdated, they make quote unquote too much, so they don't qualify, even though they're struggling like hell right now too. And really, to be honest with you, a lot more people actually should be getting food stamps based on what they make. According to the National Low Income Housing Coalition's Out of Reach report, in many states, like for instance, the state of Florida, which is the 9th most expensive state in the United States, you need to make at least $37.27 an hour to afford a 2-bedroom apartment. That's somewhere north of what, $70,000 a year? That being said, in my view, if you make less than $75,000 a year, you need food stamps. Did I stutter? And so people are struggling right now like hell. Farmers are struggling. And they're the ones who supply food. So this is how our system operates when it comes to the people. And the crazy part is, this is why so many people check out of politics. This is why they check out of electoral politics, because no matter what performance that's happening, whether it's on Capitol Hill, whether it's in the executive branch, whether it's in state governments that's happening, where you have one person with the blue hat on versus the other person with the red hat on, and they're talking about how they're actually fighting for the American people when they're not actually fighting for the American people. Not every American. They're fighting for the ones who have the biggest paychecks in the land. That's basically all it is. They don't actually care about all of us. They just care about the ones who are so high on the tax bracket that they actually have to use offshore accounts in order to be able to maintain, their money. When people talk about the real economy right now is so bad that many of us are struggling day in and day out, and people wonder how we're able to survive. I want to share something with you guys because I think this is really important as well. Because I was listening to this on my walk this up because this is really important. Okay. So I want to share this from Ben Norton. He is a journalist with the Geopolitical Economic Report. Great channel, by the way. Whenever I'm doing my walk, I tend to listen to Ben Norton in his reporting. He actually does really good work on the ground. But this is one of his latest videos called Warning, Largest Bubble Ever Seen Threatens U.S. Economy. And I just want to play just the first couple of minutes because this shows about really the delusion that a lot of these people in big government, and by big government, I mean the people who are fighting, right? They're fighting for the parasite class for them to be able to get more. But when it comes to the rest of us, they don't give a damn. So he goes into this, and I would just like to share this with you guys because I think Ben touches on a few things that's very important, and then we'll continue on with this discussion in regards to the food stamps. So let's play this really quick.
We are often told that the economy of the United States is so strong and that growth rates in the US are so much higher than in other major economies. But if you look beneath the surface in the US economy, what you can see are many deep structural problems that are getting worse over time, not better. And what you really have in the US more and more is a bifurcated economy, a divided economy. You have the economy of the rich, which is financialized and dominated by big tech corporations, and it's booming. And it looks like things are very healthy, but only a small percentage of elites benefit from that growth. The vast majority of the population is not seeing economic growth. The real economy is stagnating for the majority of the population. The Wall Street Journal published an important article that provided a glimpse into this, titled, "The US Economy Depends More Than Ever on Rich People." It noted that the richest 10% of the American population now represents roughly half of all spending, 49.7% of all spending in the economy, which is a massive increase in the past 3 decades. 30 years ago, the richest 10% made up 36% of all spending. Now it's nearly 50%. Moreover, spending by the richest 10% of Americans makes up 1/3 of all of US GDP, gross domestic product. And this is why so many working class Americans feel like they're in a recession, because in their own local economies, in the real economy, they are in recession. But the problem with GDP figures for a country is that they're aggregate figures. They take GDP growth across the entire country. So for the United States, it looks like the US economy is growing because GDP is taken for all 50 states in the US, including states whose economies are dominated by rich elites. But even the Financial Times published an article acknowledging that the way a recession is measured in the US has problems. Now, a recession is officially declared when there are 2 consecutive fiscal quarters of negative GDP growth. But because that's an aggregate figure, it can obscure the fact that a recession is actually happening in many parts of the country. The FT reported that, quote, US states making up close to 1/3 of the country's GDP are either in or at high risk of recession, end quote. And it noted this is especially the case for the Midwest and parts of the Rust Belt that have.
So let's stop right there for a second, because I think this is also a really important inflection point to point out, is that this reminds me of the speech by Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., where he talked about I think it was called The Tale of Two Americas. And so we literally live in two different countries. And so when people like Donald Trump say, let's make America great again, right? He's not talking about for everyone. It's the same type of mentality as when the founding fathers said all men are created equal. But who do they consider men? Were Italian males considered men? Were Irish males considered men? Were Native American males considered men? Were Black slave males considered men? You see, this is the mentality. So when they say all men are created equal, they're talking about white Anglo-Saxon Protestant men that are landowners. When people like Donald Trump say, make America great again, then that's up to you to say for whom. And then they will say, well, for everybody. But when has it been great for everyone? Hello? Are you guys listening? Here's the thing. That's the thing. It hasn't been great for everybody. And it never was. That's the crazy part. And some people who may be conservative, who may support Trump, be like, oh, well, it was great for us at one time. But the thing is, it's like, it's always great for one subset of the population. It's never the collective. It was great for the robber barons. It was great for the landowners. It was great for white men. It was kind of great for white women. But the rest of it? No, it wasn't. And so when people go, oh my God, well, America is the greatest country in the history of the world. For whom? Tell that to a Native American right now. Wait, I want you to go and tell a Native American, America is the greatest country in the world, and ask them about their ancestry. I want you to go to Black American freedmen and say, America is the greatest country in the world, and then ask us about our ancestry. Why in the world is it that me and my cousins were the first people in our families that were born with full rights within this country? I said me and my cousins. I didn't say my parents and my aunts and uncles or grandparents, because they weren't born with full rights. Let's continue here, because I think Ben also touches on some really great points here as well. I wish I had Ben Norton's brain power, because he's that good.
Been deindustrialized as the U.S. economy has financialized in recent decades. But the people living in those states are forgotten, because a few states like California, Texas, and New York do have their local economy growing, largely because of these big bubbles that I'll be talking about today. So what's increasingly clear is that in the US, there's one economy for the rich, and there's another economy for everyone else. And that economy for the rich that seems to be booming depends almost entirely on two massive and interrelated bubbles. There is the bubble in the stock market, which is the largest bubble in US history, and there's a related bubble in the tech sector, in particular in the artificial intelligence, the AI industry. Both of these bubbles are linked together, but I'm going to start by looking at the massive stock market bubble in the US. If you look at something called the Buffett indicator, named after the billionaire investor Warren Buffett, this analyzes the market capitalization of all publicly traded stocks in the US and compares it to GDP, the size of the entire economy. You can see that as of October 2025, it is now more than 219% of GDP. That is, the market capitalization, the market value of all of the stocks of publicly traded companies in the US combined are 2 times greater than the size of the entire economy. There has never been a moment in US history for which we have data when the bubble in the stock market has been this big. If you look back at the peak of the bubble in 2007, before it crashed in the 2008 and 2009 financial crisis, at the peak of the 2007 bubble, the Buffett indicator was only, in scare quotes, only 105% of GDP. Or if you look at the dot-com bubble back in the late 90s, at the peak of the dot-com bubble in early 2000, the Buffett indicator was 138% of GDP. But again, today, it is over 219% of GDP. This is the biggest bubble ever seen, at least for which we have data. And yet this bubble keeps inflating and becoming bigger and bigger, boasting of how the main US stock market index, the S&P 500, has reached record highs. And yet the vast majority of the population is not benefiting from this growth in the stock market. In fact, the richest 1% of Americans own 50% of all stocks in the US. And then when you add in the following richest 9% plus the 1% richest Americans together, the top 10 richest Americans hold over 87% of all stocks in the US.
So this goes into basically how we literally live in 2 different Americas. And so we are living in an era right now where we are in a recession, but the rich aren't. And so the rich are so blithely unaware that the pitchforks are ready to come out. The torches are being lit, and they have nowhere to run because they are literally playing with the government in order to get richer. And now they're trying to sacrifice us in order to do it. But working and poor people do not go down without a fight. And this is going to lead to even more social and political unrest. If you are wealthy, I am giving you a warning right now. Stop while you're ahead. But shit is about to hit the fan. So, guys, I'm gonna share that with you guys in the chat. That full report is actually a great breakdown, especially about the AI bubble, about financialized capital, and how it is really great for those who are the top earners in the country. I don't even like to use the word top earners. It's really just for the parasite class, because they're not actually earning anything. They're really just they're taking resources and wealth that is created by workers away from us. It is stealing candy from a baby. That's exactly what they're doing. And so this is one of the reasons why it's so important that we focus on this as well. But there is also a lot of people that are going to be feeling the pinch down the line when it comes to food pantries, right? So I want to share this with you guys too. Let's get into this.
The federal government shutdown continues. Now families that rely on food assistance could soon face empty pantries. The USDA says November SNAP benefits will not be issued if the shutdown isn't resolved soon. Fox News' Kelly Hoskins takes us to a local food pantry where volunteers are already seeing an impact.
Inside the Circle of Concern food pantry in Valley Park, there's a steady stream of families looking for help. The pantry serves nearly 700 families every month, which is a 7% increase from last year.
We've definitely seen an increase in families throughout 2025, and we expect that to continue into the holiday season.
We see a wide range of families, from young single-parent families to two-parent families with young children, and all the way up through our senior citizen population. So we have sort of a variety of different people who have multiple needs and come to us for a variety of reasons.
Across Missouri, according to officials in 2025 so far, more than 600,000 families depended on SNAP benefits to buy food. With the government shutdown showing no signs of ending, local food banks fear the safety net many families rely on could soon vanish. And they're doing their best to make sure no one goes hungry.
Yeah, we always keep an eye on SNAP benefits and other resources that the government offers, but we tend to rely on our community support.
As things progress, we of course can't predict exactly what will happen, but I think that as an organization, our goal is to be prepared for that.
As Washington continues debates, pantries like this one are focused on something far more urgent, making sure families can put food on the table. They're urging the community to step up with canned goods, cereal, and pasta to help fill the gap. Reporting in Valley Park, Kelly Hoskins, Fox 2 News.
But socialist countries have red lines. Here's the crazy part about this. They are going to be millions more people that are relying on food pantries, food banks, in order to be able to survive. And you know what's at the end of November? Thanksgiving. So all these people that aren't going to get their food stamps, and there's a lot of people, if they're not going to be able to afford the food, how are these grocery stores going to make their money? How is the Save-A-Lot and the Aldi and the Food Lion and the Winn-Dixie, how are they going to make their money? How's the Acme? How's the Piggly Wiggly going to make their money? How are they? They're gonna also go lower on revenue too. It is a systemic shift because of the SNAP benefits being cut. A lot of people are like, and on top of that, they don't even give enough SNAP benefits for us to survive anyway. If I told you how much I get in SNAP benefits with how much we make in my household, you would laugh. You would laugh. You would bust out laughing. You'd be like, that's an insult. That's a slap in the face. Yes, it is a slap in the face. Especially because they don't keep up with the cost of food properly. Because we are facing corporate greed, including in our food. But there's another thing that's about to happen that a lot of people aren't talking about. And I think this is also important too. Because a lot of people are saying, well, all we got to do is just go to the food banks. JB, just go to the food banks. And while that is true, unfortunately for us, even the food banks are running out of food. Let's take a look. This article came out a few months ago. Let's go into this. This is out of the Wall Street Journal. So let's take a look. It says food banks are running out of food exactly when more Americans will need them. So this came out in July, y'all. This came out in July. It says this year, the federal government has canceled food deliveries and cut hundreds of millions of dollars in annual aid to food banks. It says for Aragon, the head of programming for Roadrunner Food Bank, the New Mexico's largest charitable food operation, that has meant losing more than 7 million pounds of food she's been counting on. President Trump's mega bill, passed earlier this month, includes cuts to food stamps, now known as the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, or SNAP, or as we all know as food stamps. Food banks across the country were already straining under rising demand. Now they worry many more Americans will go hungry. Some food banks and pantries are pushing for more state, local, and private funding. Others are considering cutting back services and the amount of food they can distribute. It says food banks have been seeing requests for assistance from households, including those with children, jump sharply over the past few years, driven by the end of pandemic aid programs and the impact of inflation on grocery prices. According to the recent survey from Feeding America, a national network of food banks, over half, 162 food banks, report demand rising this past April compared with April of 2024. Earlier this year, the Agriculture Department canceled millions of pounds of shipments to food banks that were part of its emergency food assistance program for low-income people. The Agriculture Department, under the Trump administration, canceled millions of pounds of shipments to food banks that were part of its emergency food assistance program for low-income people. When Trump said that he cared about and he was for the forgotten man, apparently he was also talking about, oh, well, he forgot about you too. And this isn't some liberal GOP bashing channel. No. Do not get it twisted, because the Democrats are also complicit in a lot of this too. The problem is that we live in a system that prioritizes the profits of corporate parasites over the people. And here is your prime example. The people who are impoverished, the people who are treated the lowest in this country are constantly being suppressed and oppressed more and more day after day. And the numbers are growing. Let's continue. Says the spokesperson for the department said it only terminated an additional fund set up by the Biden administration that resulted in inflated spending on the program. Deliveries for the main emergency food effort continue uninterrupted, the department said. Hang on. Let's take a look at this. All because it was under the Biden administration. Oh, we got to cut it. By the way, how much is I can't even call it Department of Defense anymore, the Department of War budget? How much are we spending on that? By the way, just for anybody who is interested in knowing, go ahead and Google because the thing is that our defense, or really our War Department, our nuclear defense program is not under the War Department, right? It's under the Department of Energy. So not everything involving our military is under the war budget. Nuclear weapons are under the Department of Energy. Go ahead and Google it. So when we talk about all this money, we're literally over $1 trillion right now spending on killing machines. So instead of feeding people, we're allowing them to starve. And I just want you to know, if the United States doesn't give a damn about starving Palestinians in Gaza, what makes you think they're going to care about us? They don't. They never have. And they never will. There's so many people that right now that are suffering already. This report came out in July. We're now approaching November. We have 10 days left in this month. 10 days till Halloween. And then after that, it's November 1st. And so many people are going to be starving because they can't afford the food that they need in order to be able to survive. So I want people to realize that this is what this system does. Look at this. It says in a separate pandemic era program slated to disperse roughly $500 million this year to food banks to buy produce, dairy items, and meats from local farmers. It was also cut by the Agriculture Department. The department said it had released hundreds of millions of dollars to food banks that had previously been part of the program. Yet food banks say that they already are feeling the impacts of federal cuts. Look at this. Look at these lines. Don't anybody come to me and talk about, oh, well, these socialist countries, they got bread lines. Don't come to me about that. When we have them here called food banks. And the crazy part is you have to be within a certain poverty line in order to be able to get there. It's just, yeah. This is America. That's what it is. People line up for food. So I wanted to share that with you guys because I think it is important that we realize that this system does us no good. And on top of that, I wanted to also share this because we just did this. It's crazy on its face how much these governments do not care about us because they rather send you and me who are literally living in this country. We pay taxes, we do our jobs, and we try to take care of our families. But even then, unless you're some wild-haired Argentinian megalomaniac, that's it. So let's take a look. Hang on. Okay, there we go. It says Donald Trump's $40 billion exception to America First. The blurb says, after promising to end foreign entanglements, the president has proposed a financial rescue plan for the far right-wing government of Argentina. So, unfortunately, I'm not paying a New Yorker to read the rest of this article, but $40 billion to Argentina. How many billions have we sent to Israel? We at minimum send $3.8 billion a year on top of the other billions and billions that have been sent to Israel. By the way, Israel also has free childcare, free healthcare, as well as free college. They have all that. And yet, when it comes to us, we can't even get our food stamps. Yet Milei can get 40 billion of our dollars, and we can't get food stamps. This is the crazy part about this system. It is ridiculous. And all this because they want to keep up the arms of the empire going to everywhere else that they can. Now, I'm going to say this. Is all lost? Are we just doomed and just lay down and die? If I was going to say that, then this segment would be over by now. There are solutions, and there's a way to be able to survive. One of the things that I want to share with you guys is we always talk about it, but I think it's important, is that we continue to do mutual aid within our communities. The thing is that a lot of times people talk about, well, you know, if you guys are going to be doing mutual aid, like, how do you do it? What's the best way to do it? How do you go about it? How do you start? One of the things that I want to do is I want to share this because this is what's important. This is how we're going to succeed as a people. Shout out to my sister, Savvy Sabs. She's going to be having a mutual aid workshop this Saturday, October 25th at 11 a.m. Now, if you guys would like to get the link to her, to the Zoom call that she will be hosting this on, is absolutely free. All you got to do is subscribe to her newsletter on Substack, and you guys can get that link so that Saturday, October 25th at 11, you guys can come in, get a pad, get a pen or paper or a pencil, and get your notes ready, because we're going to be talking about mutual aid, how to start doing it, how to get together with other people to do it so we can help out our neighbors, because this is what's important, because this is what's going to help us, because people are struggling. And I want to also direct attention to what Savvy's responding to. She's responding to a post from More Perfect Union saying that the CEO of GoFundMe says more and more people are crowdfunding to survive. So let's just listen to this really quick, because I think this is really important.
On the economy, look through the prism of GoFundMe. I mean, prices for medical expenses, burials, I mean, not to get depressing, things have gone through the roof the past few years.
Yeah, I mean, we continue to see all categories grow. I think maybe one indicator that's interesting is we have a group of sort of a category of fundraising we call essentials, which are things like rent, utility bills, car payments, sort of your basic things you need to get through life. That category has gone up significantly in the last 3 years in practically all our markets, because affordability is an issue in essentially all OECD economies.
So people starting sound flippant. I just think natural disaster, GoFundMe. I don't necessarily think, wow, I need groceries.
Yes, in some cases, very sadly, that is happening.
Wow.
We're seeing that more and more.
I'm one of them. I'm one of them. What do I have pinned in my Twitter? So that I can be able to afford expenses post-kidney transplant. It's not just for medical expenses, to be able to afford the healthy food that I need to eat in order to be able to take care of this kidney. It is in order to be able to afford medications. All this stuff. And then on top of that, the money that would go to that now also has to be rediverted again because guess what? My food stamps are getting cut. Your food stamps are getting cut. So everybody's crowdfunding now because we can't afford it. And this is part of the system. And this is why we talk about doing mutual aid. And we're not just going to talk about it. We got to be about it. This is why I encourage you. And I will be there on Saturday, this Saturday at 11 a.m. I hope to see you there. But the thing is, like, this is what we got to do in order to push forward and change the system fundamentally. We got to build dual power by doing mutual aid and helping each other. We have to save ourselves. There's no politician that we really can depend on because they all operate within a system that is built on exploitation, our exploitation. But I'm not leaving you with just that. I'm also going to share this with you too, because I think this is also important. Can and do help. The first one I'm going to share is People's Free Kitchen. They are a wonderful mutual aid organization that I have volunteered with multiple times. They are doing wonderful work. Shout out to Leela at People's Free Kitchen. I saw her on Sunday. And so take a look here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to share the link to People's Free Kitchen. If you are in Central Florida, they do mutual aid and they help out the people, especially within my own zip code. So this is an answer for people who need the assistance. We just did mutual aid this Sunday. We did. I was volunteering with them at a solidarity hub on Sunday. There were meals given out. There's groceries, clothes. There'll be times where they will fix bikes for free. They will give haircuts and they will do hair washes. They'll do all these beautiful things for the community, toiletries, all that, because ultimately it's about us saving us. And so they do that as well. So the link to People's Free Kitchen is going to be there. I'm also going to put it in the description of not just this live stream, but also in the clip. So be sure to go there to People's Free Kitchen. There's another one that I would like to share. People's Free Kitchen works in conjunction with Real. And so Real, I've had them on before. I've had members of Real on before. And so they do wonderful work out there here in Orlando, and they are trying to expand to go even further. So let me share this. This is Real. They are also, People's Free Kitchen is a part of Real. And so they actually do a lot of teaching, especially about the system, why it operates the way it does, what in the world are we going to do as far as this system is concerned, how we can build dual power, how we can fight against a system that thrives on our exploitation. They also do classes about emergency first aid. They do classes about things like that have to do with even, they even have a farm that they help teach people how to do farming. So they teach they do a lot of education work. So you guys have that there. So I'm going to share Real as well. And I will also put them in the description because I think they are really important. We have to fight however we can for each other. We have to get rid of this individualistic mindset that we were inculcated, we're brainwashed to cling to within this country. Now, I'm not just leaving you with that. There's another organization I'm going to share with you guys. as well that does programs involving food. So here's another one. I told you guys, I'm gonna get you. We have Food Not Bombs Orlando. If you guys have not, please go search for Food Not Bombs in your local area. There are multiple Food Not Bombs locations throughout the United States. And what do? They feed people. They don't ask you for money. They don't even ask you for your name. It's just you come up, grab a plate, they'll serve you, and you get to eat. Because the thing is that food is a human necessity. And so therefore, they do not want to see anybody go without. So I'll also be putting their link in the description below as well. I've had on one of the co-founders for Food Not Bombs, Mr. Keith McHenry, on to talk about how he started Food Not Bombs. I talked with him about that on RBN. And so, wonderful guy. And so they're really about self-sustaining while doing it collectively for everybody. So you have that. There's one more thing that I want to share with all of you too, because I really want to make sure that you guys I want to make sure everybody's copacetic. And so I got one more thing to share. And I'm going to share this. And I'm doing this for my city, Orlando, because this is where I'm located. But I want you guys to share as widely as you can with your neighbors in your own specific areas. Please do this. So let me share this as well. We're going to look at the local food banks. Now, the reason why I'm doing the local food banks last is partially because these food banks, a lot of times we have to worry about the nonprofit industrial complex, but at the same time, I as long as people are eating, but at the same time, I put the mutual aid organizations first because they're doing it, and their job is to do it so that they don't have to do it anymore. It's to change the system fundamentally so that we won't need them anymore. And so that's the beautiful part about mutual aid organizations. So the food banks and food pantries are also going to be helpful for anybody, especially who have, families, larger families that need a lot of groceries. So here in Orlando, of course, we have the Second Harvest Food Bank, right? So we have that. I'm going to give you guys this link in the chat. We have Haven of Hope Food Pantry. We have International Harvest Church. Let me see. We have Daily Bread as well. They're a nonprofit. You have United Against Poverty. So right now they're open. So just in case, if you guys need. Also the Christian Service Center. So they also do a food bank. I think they just serve people food. Human Crisis Center. So they actually have a food bank there. Salt Outreach. When we did mutual aid here in Orlando, I think it was late last year, we actually got a little bit of a tour through Salt Outreach here in downtown Orlando. And so the people were very nice when we were doing our mutual aid. They allowed us, to come in and take a look around. And so they do a lot for the unhoused out there too, right? Of course, you have the Catholic Charities, food distribution as well here. Let me see. You have Community Baptist Church. You have Southeastern Food Bank. And so you have all these different ones, right? And they're going, miles and miles out just for anybody who is within the area, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share this link with anybody who especially is in Central Florida, who is in need of a food bank. But I want you all to do the same thing too within your area. In fact, the moment I'm done with the stream, I want you guys to do a search, and then from that Google search, take that link, post it on your social media. I don't care if it's on Twitter. I don't care if it's on Facebook, Instagram. Hell, make a TikTok video about it. I don't care. But share it so that people have the resources in order to be able to feed themselves, right? And if you're a farmer, hey, try to do what you can if you are a farmer. I know it's hard because both parties do not give a damn about us. So hopefully that link will work. I don't know if it is, but I don't think it will. I think the link's too long. But if you guys would like to, just go ahead and take a look and just put local food banks in and then put in your city or town. Okay, just please do that and then share it. Just share it indiscriminately with anybody and everybody that you possibly can, because people are going to be suffering. So I wanted to make sure that I shared that as well, because ultimately that's what's absolutely needed. Jacqueline, yeah, I mean, if you want to tag me on Twitter, if you share something, tag me on Twitter and I will I'll retweet it. I'm also on Blue Sky. If you guys want to post it on Blue Sky, tag me on there. I will retweet it, because I want it to get as far and wide as possible, because nobody should have to suffer because of the system and its lapdogs. One of my mottos that I live by is everybody eats. Everybody eats. All right. So please go ahead and do that. And as well, if you guys would like to share the stream, just for information purposes, so that people are able to get the resources that they need as far as food is concerned, go ahead and share the stream as well. I appreciate it very much. But the goal is to make sure that people do not go without. Care about your neighbors, because this is approaching. We are just less than 2 weeks away from November 1st, and people are going to be suffering. We want to minimize as much suffering as possible, especially within our own borders. We want to minimize it everywhere, but we also want to do it here too. So please go ahead and do that and keep the compassion going, because we have to be the ones that save ourselves and each other. All right, go ahead and give a like to the stream. Thank you so very much to everybody. But I really wanted to get into the solutions as well. Thank you so much to everybody for sharing. So before we move on, I want to also give a shout out to the patrons on Patreon, because without them, I would not have a channel, and you guys make this absolutely possible. So let's go ahead and do the patron shout out as well. So let's do this thing. All right. So here are the tiers. We have Mega Jaybefaunters, Super Duper Jaybefaunters, Super Jaybefaunters, Jaybefaunters. We have Comrade, Solidarity, and JB members. And we like to give a warm welcome to brand new member Jasmine Harrell. Thank you very much. Shout out to Jasmine Harrell for becoming a member on Patreon. You guys actually continue to keep this channel going, and I deeply appreciate it from all of you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Also, just let you guys know, my channel is demonetized, so if you like to support the channel, you can support via Patreon or PayPal. So thank you very much for that. All right, let's get into the comments in the chat. Let me check to see if I have any Rumble rants, and if so, we'll go to those. If not, then we'll check the Kick chat to see if I have any gifted subs, and then we will continue on into the YouTube chat. So we are good on the Rumble side. All right, looks good there. All right, let me check on the Kick side to see if we have any gifted subs. Wait, did I put? Oh, Kick is not up yet. Okay. Let me do this. Let me see. All right. I could have swore I had it open, but apparently not. All right. All right. Looks like all right. So I don't see any gifted subs there on there yet. All right. So we shall go. We shall move on. And how was the stream, guys? Was there still a big lag? Hope not. All right. So Jacqueline, this is actually a really good question. Do unhoused people have access to SNAP benefits, food banks, or food pantries? Food banks and pantries, maybe. But as far as SNAP benefits, unfortunately, they do. The only problem is for here in Florida, you have to go through the Department of Children and Families, and the process can be a little more difficult because you don't have a physical address, and so they'll try to get it to you as quickly as possible. And they also have programs where they can expedite it because you're considered homeless, and so therefore they want to make sure you get the food as quickly as possible. But on top of that, so some people who are unhoused, they're transient. They are always moving around. So when it comes to getting their mail in order to be able to get their EBT card and be able to get the funds that they need in order to be able to get the food, that's kind of hard. On top of that, it's difficult because the only food that you can get while unhoused is you can't get anything that's perishable, right? Also, and this is one of the rules that I can't stand, is that here, at least here in Florida, I'm not sure if this is a federal thing or just a state thing, but here in Florida, you cannot buy hot food with food stamps. So let's say I go to a Publix grocery store, right? And there's a deli, some barbecue chicken, they got some collard greens, they got some mashed potatoes or some mac and cheese or something like that. It's all hot, right? But you're at the grocery store. You cannot buy it. But if they pre-package it and put it in the cooler and then they sell it cold, then you can get it with food stamps. I have been able to get hot wings with food stamps all because it was from yesterday and they put it in the fridge and now they're selling it in the refrigerated section. But the problem is we shouldn't have to do it because of it's hot or cold food. Because they're like, well, if you're going to get food, you're going to have to cook it yourself. And it's like some people don't have the apparatus in order to be able to do that. Some people may live in like a single room where they don't have a hot plate. They don't have a stove. Hell, they barely even have a microwave. And so how are they supposed to eat? And then on top of it, one of the things that gets on my nerves is when people talk about, oh, beggars can't be choosers. Number one, I hate that phrase. Second of all, different people have different dietary needs. And so the problem with sometimes with going to food banks is you'll go there and you'll look for food, but the food doesn't stay consistent. It's whatever gets donated at that point in time. So they could have a whole shelf full of instant oatmeal, right? Because they didn't sell that much, so they just gave it away, right? Okay. By the way, the grocery stores that actually give it away, they actually also write that off on their taxes, by the way. So it's not like they're not making anything off of it. So they'll have that. But then the next month, they sold a whole bunch of oatmeal, and now they got something else. So it could be frosted mini wheats or shredded wheat or something like that. So instead of having the oatmeal again, they got the shredded wheat. Or instead of not having that oatmeal anymore, then they have, if it's full of Pop-Tarts or something. I don't know. But it just depends on what they have excess of. So it's never consistent. And also, people forget that there's some people who also have tooth sensitivity issues, meaning that dentally, they can only eat soft stuff. And so maybe they don't have teeth, or maybe they have a few teeth missing, or maybe their teeth, because it'll ruin whatever they have left because their teeth may be brittle or something like that. And so they don't have the conditions available for them to be able to eat everything. So then what do? You know what I mean? And so that's one of the things with a lot of food pantries and food banks and things like that. That's what makes it difficult. Is that things aren't as consistent. Then on top of that, they don't keep the same meals. And a lot of the foods that are given to food banks are processed too. So when it comes to having food that's really high in nutrition, they're more far and fewer in between. So you may have a bunch of plums, a bunch of bananas, a bunch of oranges that may come through. They might have, they might have broccoli or something like that. But then it's not going to be consistent because the next month, that's not going to be there. And so a lot of stuff is already prepackaged, pre-made. And what if you're trying to be healthier? Like myself, I'm calorie counting now. So what happens if I have to choose these super high calorie foods to eat? And I can't choose anything whole foods wise for my nutrition needs. It's just, and then on top of that, you got people with different medical conditions. Some people who have heart conditions, diabetes, gallbladder, pancreas. They can have all these. Fire Ripple says this will be horrible. Look for the already horrible Cheeto boy. Yeah, of course. I can't do DMs anymore because it takes a long time. If you want, you can put it in the chat and I'll read it, but I can't do DMs anymore. But thanks. Let's continue. Jacqueline says this sounds so similar to what happened in the UK with the lab. A lab government said they had to slash billions of pounds of disabled benefits while pledging so many billions a year for 10 years to Ukraine. Yeah, unfortunately, that's the way it is, man. Let me see here. Dana says our ruling class wants us to eat bugs. They're that terrible, man. They are. Yeah, Vicky Adams says no SNAP benefits while the Fed shut down. This is also a really good question, Jacqueline. If SNAP benefits are restored, will the government give retroactive SNAP benefits for the months that were missing? Feel like with this government, this is a stupid question. It's not a stupid question. In fact, it's something that should be implemented, but it's not. I do think that, in my personal opinion, that the benefits should be given back retroactively, but they won't, because they're going to complain about, oh, we don't have the money for it. Yet we're still giving billions of dollars to Raytheon, Northrop Grumman, and General Dynamics. But perish the thought we actually give money to people for them to be able to eat. Dana Fairbanks says, I can't wait for my first bug burger. No, just have one with shrimp. Oh, we can do the aquatic ones. Shrimp, lobster, stuff like that. Crab. I like some crab. Give it that clarified butter and that Old Bay seasoning. Ooh. But yeah. All right, so let's move on to the next one that I want to get into. This one is also going to be dealing with the economy. This one's a doozy. All right, so of course we talked about SNAP benefits being slashed. Now we're going to be talking about Orlando putting profits over people. So this one is going to be hitting home for a lot of people within Central Florida, especially Orlando. Let's get into it, guys. $400 million. So we're talking about priorities here. There's a zip code in Orlando that is said to be one of the most economically displaced in Central Florida. The zip code is 32805. And therein exists a large population of people who are what I would consider to be working poor. Some people would think to themselves, like in the area, well, I'm not working poor. It's like, maybe yes, you are. You're not even middle class unless you make somewhere north of $120,000 a year. Like, you're not even middle class. And I say, but when it comes to priorities within this area, there is something out of whack within Orlando. Orlando is a blue city within a red state who are more in line with the Democrats than they're willing to admit, but the Democrats would rather Florida stay within Republican hands, because if the Democrats actually have Florida and Texas, for the most part, within their grasp, they would pretty much win every single election with the Electoral College. And then people would actually have to look at them and go, well, wait, you guys aren't actually providing the material benefits for us in order to be able to. Pressure will be on them. Anyways, there's a stadium. Now, it used to be called the Bowl back then. Since then, it's changed names, and so now it is called Camping World Stadium. Now, this stadium has went through a series of upgrades over the years, and now they're looking to upgrade it even further. But the question is, like, how in the world are they upgrading that when this area that is surrounding it is still so economically displaced? Something that is constantly overlooked within the city, and it shouldn't be. So let's get into this. So here is the article that came out. It says Orlando's expanded Camping World Stadium will light up the night. I guess they thought that they were going to do just like a fluff piece about this. It says color changing LED are the latest new feature of the $400 million upgrade. So this is the stadium, right? This isn't to build the stadium, y'all. This is just to upgrade the existing stadium. Upgrade, not build. $400 million. Let's get into this, y'all. So it says Orlando's redesigned Camping World Stadium makes a statement with its ribbons of aluminum encircling the structure. And the new lighting package is the exclamation point. DLR Group, led by architect Ryan Friedland, unveiled a new look at the $400 million project featuring color-changing LED lights during Thursday's meeting at the city's Appearance Review Board. The board unanimously approved the stadium's expansion, which is slated to begin in early 2026. Friedland said that the lighting package is still a work in progress, but preliminary plans call for a programmable system that can light the stadium structure and incorporate down lighting to illuminate the metallic skin, causing a lampshade effect. The architects will be required to file a new lighting and signage plan once the city secures a naming rights deal for the stadium. Camping World's contract expired in 2024. So here's another rendering of the stadium. So it says the design team also addressed the concerns of the ARB members raised during the courtesy review in July. Freeland and Adam Marion displayed samples of the anodized aluminum that would be used for the metallic skin for members worried that it would reflect sunlight into drivers' eyes as they travel along State Road 408 and I-4. We're looking at aluminum, a matte aluminum like this. So I know reflectivity was a comment, so we're trying to minimize that for sure. So it says others were concerned about the structural support beams for the new Upper Bowl would affect the streetscape along Church Street. The beams would reduce width of the sidewalk on Church Street to about 5 or 6 feet. But ARB Director Richard Forbes said it wouldn't hinder pedestrian movement because the street will be closed off to traffic on days where there's an event at the stadium. Other components of the modernization project include new premium suites and amenities, updated building systems, code and fire safety updates to current standards, and retractable stage pocket, and a section of the south seating bowl to attract more and larger music events. Let's take a look here. It says include new premium suites and amenities. I find it interesting that they put that as the first thing. Oh, we're doing new stuff for the rich folks. Yeah. New stuff for the rich folks. How many of us who live around and near Camping World Stadium, how many of us will be able to afford those suites? Hell, I mean, most of us can't even afford to go to the EDC that's happening next month. The Electronic Daisy Carnival, yeah, we can't afford to go to that. Chris Brown was here at that stadium, what, 2-3 weeks ago? Not to mention the amount of congestion and traffic in the area. Here's something that a lot of people don't know. There's not enough parking for that stadium, by the way. So much so that people who have houses, whether they rent or own, they literally use their yards as parking for whenever there's a big game, because instead of using the soccer stadium that was used to displace black neighborhoods in Orlando near the Parramore area, soccer games, they use Camping World Stadium for the international soccer games. So let's say Brazil, or let's say South Africa, or let's say Bangladesh, right? Their team is coming to compete against the United States. Well, they don't play at the soccer stadium that we have. Yes, we also have a soccer stadium. No, they come to Camping World because it draws bigger crowds. But here's the crazy part, right? That's an extreme amount of congestion among the area. Camping World Stadium is in the middle of the hood. It's in the middle of the hood. So when people literally have to get to and from work, to and from whatever they have to do, it's congested. When Chris Brown came, his concert was on a Tuesday, and you're congested. You're literally back to back in traffic. And it's not even like you make enough money, so you're like, it's just, I just a little back up in traffic. I can sit here and wait. No, you've been working your behind off, probably working sometime on International Drive, making 16, 17 bucks an hour, can barely afford your rent that you can right now. You had to go to Texas Fried Chicken no. You couldn't even go to Texas Fried Chicken. You had to go to Church's Chicken over there right nearby because you can't afford Popeyes. You can't afford KFC, but you can definitely afford Church's. And so then guess what? By the time you get home, it's later than what you needed it to be. But then you got to take care of all your stuff with your family, and then you got to go to bed because you got to be back up in the morning. They gave you a closing shift tonight, but they gave you an opening shift tomorrow. And so this is the problem with having a stadium in the middle of this area. And here's the thought: they actually put it in Isleworth or Windermere or in Winter Park. If they did that, they would have a problem. Now, updating building systems, firing safety code standards, those things I don't have a problem with, because the thing is, people need to be safe whenever they go to these games. That's cool. But then a retractable stage pocket and a south section of the seating bowl to attract more and larger music events? I'm sorry. What the hell are you talking about? Last year, Rolling Stone was just here at that same stadium. The Stones. I bet you Beyonce can play at that stadium, no problem. I bet you Taylor Swift, I bet you she can play at that stadium, no problem. Why do we need to do that? Lordy Lord. So here is another projection of what it's going to look like during the daytime. So it says, when completed, the redesigned stadium will seat 65,000 guests, not including those in luxury suites, and the bench seating in the upper level will be upgraded with individual seats. Construction is expected to start early next year with a projected completion date of August of 2027. The timeline allows for potential hosting of the Jacksonville Jaguars for the 2027 to 2028 season, while their home stadium undergoes renovations. The project will be funded through the tourist development tax revenue generated by a 6% surcharge on hotel rooms and short-term rentals in Orange County. So, here's my question. That money is going to update a stadium that most people in this area, in this neighborhood, won't even be able to afford to go to. And you're not looking to actually help the people in the area instead. And you're paying for it by doing a surcharge on tourists. All right, fine. They have enough money to come visit. Okay, cool. But what about the residents? What about the poorest among us? 32805 is literally one of the most, it is the most economically displaced area in Orlando. Let me share this with y'all. Because we do mutual aid out here. This is where we do mutual aid. Let me share this with you. So this video is entitled Parramore, Florida, Orlando's most dangerous neighborhood. So let's get into it.
Evidently, this is statistically the worst neighborhood in Orlando, just next to downtown. Let's check it out. Let's see what makes this the statistically worst neighborhood in Orlando. If you're new to the channel, travel around all types of cities, states, and towns. Today's adventure, folks, Parramore, Florida, or Parramore neighborhood, Orlando, Florida. Coming on to Westmoreland. Tell you one thing, Parramore's got the world's longest stoplight. Took like 6 minutes. Okay, so some dumping there.
So I think we're pushing Orange County right here.
Some nice wall art, some murals there.
So yeah, this is the area.
Coming up to Church Street.
So Church Street runs into Camping World Stadium. So here, so if you were to make a right here, you would be on your way towards Camping World Stadium.
Here's something. Not sure what that was. A horn or something.
So this is actually going south.
Oh, it's a fire truck behind us. Get out of the way.
So there you see downtown Orlando.
Sorry about the glare, folks. I'll get off the street in just a minute here.
Sure. And this is a historically Black neighborhood in downtown Orlando.
Here's Parramore Avenue.
And in fact, we actually did mutual aid. I think it was here.
Going north?
Yeah.
Just folks hanging
Now,
out.
down here at the very end of the street, that's the soccer stadium. And you will run into many unhoused people in this area. I muted it because I can give probably better commentary than this person because this person doesn't actually never live here. But and then right here, we actually did mutual aid right here on the on the right hand side. A couple months ago, we do mutual aid over here. Now, if he was to go the other way, they actually reeled us mutual aid typically further back. But this is also one of the oldest churches. This pink building right here is one of the oldest churches in Orlando. It is a Black church there. And they literally want to tear that church down and place for the soccer stadium. And so this is basically Orlando, and they say it's one of the most dangerous neighborhoods. But the crazy part about this neighborhood that a lot of people don't know is that, they're constantly being paroled by police, but it's not because they're that dangerous. It's because poverty, people are literally impoverished. In poverty, crime goes up at a commensurate rate. And it happens in white neighborhoods, Black neighborhoods, no matter what. But that's because the people are being exploited. They're economically displaced. And so people need to commit crimes of opportunity, or they have lack of opportunity, or they commit crimes of desperation. And so this is what happens in places like this. So one of the things that I was curious about was this. Let me share this as well. I was figured 32805 by race. I know it's a predominantly Black. Let's get into this, folks. Population of 32805 by race says the population of 32805 zip code is approximately 70% Black. 70% of this zip code is Black, 11% white, and 15% Hispanic, with the smaller populations for other races. The majority of the population is Black, with about 71% identifying as Black, followed by 15% Hispanic and 11% white. White is the minority in this area. And so I'm sorry. The shared screen went away. Let's go back to here. So white is literally the minority of this population in this area. That's how many Black people are in this area. Now, what I wanted to do is I also wanted to get the population total of this particular zip code. And actually, one thing I found that was interesting, this zip code is actually shrinking, which could be an issue. So let's share this as well. And so the population 85 with a median age of 46.8 years. This population is distributed across an area of 6.8 square miles, resulting in a population density of about 2,657 people per square mile. So now is 2,885 people, right? So I want you guys to do me a favor while you're watching this. Pull out your calculators on your phone. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a little math problem. So I want you to take 400 million, divide that by 18,085. Got it? What'd you come up with? I came up with $22,117. $22,117 per person in this area. You mean to tell me that $22,000 per person, how much money would that have? How much of that 22,000 would help the people within this area, within this zip code, instead of putting LED lights on a stadium? 32805 is a very historic area because this is home of Tinker Field. Tinker Field is the only stop in Florida that Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. himself has ever made while doing his tour. He spoke at Tinker Field, which is located right next to Camping World Stadium. Literally right there. So this is a predominantly Black American area. By the way, the Washington Shores super stop over there, they got the Washington Shores Fish Market, and they do the fried fish. Damn, I need to get that catfish again. Anyways, it's good stuff. But that's the thing, right? It's a historic area that a lot of people live in that are economically displaced. Now, this is why it is so important that we focus on building up the communities, because these communities, we're so displaced to the point where they rather give money to build up a stadium that most of us, I have never been inside Camping World Stadium, ever. I'm willing to bet most of the people who live in this area have never been inside. Next month is going to be a big month. First, you got the Classic, right? I forget which teams play at the Classic. But you got the Classic happening next month, and then you also have EDC. EDC is a 3-day. So when EDC happens, you have a flood of white people that come in for 3 days. And then they go back home. Area. Most of that money goes towards the people who are the owners within the buildings, who own the concessions, who own the merchandise. Those are people who make most of the money. The people who own the stadium, those are people who own it. They're the ones that make most of the money. The teams and all that. I mean, what? One guy on his lot who charges $25, $30 for a parking spot, he may walk away with $300 or $400, but that's about it. How much would $22,000 do for the people per person? a family of 4, $22,000 per person. That's $88,000 for a household. $88,000 for a 4-family household. All that, they could have improved the entire area of this predominantly black area, but they don't want to. And this is a Democrat city. So when people talk about, oh my God, the Republicans are so racist, well, y'all, but the Democrats can be just as racist. It's just theirs is more covert. So when it comes to actually helping the people materially, they only care about the aesthetics of the city. They only care about the aesthetics of an area. When it comes to the actual people who actually make this run, now, their priorities are completely out of whack. In an area where it's 70% black, and so this is why it's so important for us to continue to, keep sounding out, especially about working class issues, especially the black community. And by the way, to all my black people, especially black Americans, we need to stop with the classism within our own community. Stop talking down about people just because they work in a working class, that doesn't make much money. If they work at a Starbucks, if they work at a Walmart, don't look down your nose at them. We need to have solidarity with each other. This is why we don't get nowhere, because we're trying to be like the capitalists. Where has that gotten us? By the way, black capitalism ain't going to save us. If capitalism was going to save us, then it should have saved white people long before us. How many poor white folks are out there? So, that's my thing, man. So this is why we can't depend on this system. Buddy Dyer's been mayor for 22 years, dude. Democrat. 22 years as mayor. And how much improvement, how much real, tangible improvement has been done to the lives of the people living in 32805. By the way, this is Maxwell Frost's district. Just keep your eyes on the prize and do the best you can for everybody around you. And do more than what this city does to the people. Actually prioritize your neighbors. All right, so go ahead and give a like to the stream. Thank you so very much. Appreciate it. We're going to go into see if we have any Rumble chats. Any and see if we have any Rumble rants. I don't see any Rumble rants, so we're good there. Let me check and see if we have any gifted subs on Kick. Oh, wait. Okay. Not right now. All right. Let's go into the rest of the chat. Also, you know what I forgot to do? Did you guys take the poll? I forgot to take the poll for the last segment. Go ahead and take the poll. But yeah. Let me see. Edward says, JB, that's so unfair not being able to buy hot food. Yeah. Vicky says they should waive that hot. Let me see. Sean Miller says Amazon makes tons in EBT money. It's insane. Yeah. I've actually seen that you can actually pay for some food on Amazon with EBT. Edward says, I volunteer on certain weekends delivering food to the poor, and a lot of times they donate expired food. It is sad. Yeah. It's like donating expired food. Oh, Hollyhorn says hot food is not allowed nationally. Okay. I just want to make sure. I wasn't too sure. I didn't know if it was a state thing or a federal thing, but apparently it's a federal thing. Because perish the thought that somebody actually gets hot food, you know, while on assistance. All right. Thank you very much for that. Let me see. Roger says, look at it later, but it shows how starting agricultural cooperatives can expand RBN mutual aid. Oh, thank you. Yeah. Look, our co-ops, that's a song close to my heart. I'm going to start calling you Marvin Gaye or Stevie Wonder. Song to my heart. All right. JB talking about old boy like a boy who grew up near me on the border of Maryland, New Jersey, and Maryland. Actually, I'm from South Jersey. Yep. Well, Jacqueline says, sorry to harp on this previous topic, but I wonder what new culinary delights will be created thanks to people's desperation for food. After all, people who were well fed wouldn't have created blood sausages. Ugh, I would never eat a blood sausage, but I get what you mean. Black people invented barbecue. In the United States, yeah, barbecue was invented by black Americans. It was because slaveholders would give black people the scraps of meat that they didn't want, and the scraps of meat would be the toughest cuts. And then on top of that, it would be most likely to spoil soon. So to keep ourselves from getting sick, this is why black people, most of the time, when we eat steak, we eat like beef well done. It's a cultural thing because we have been conditioned to eat all of our meat well done, especially beef, because we don't want to get sick. So instead, we cook it, and if it's a tough cut of meat, guess what we learn to do? We learn to cook it low and slow, and we develop rubs and sauces and things like that to flavor it up. So when it comes to barbecue, thank Black Americans. That's why our ribs, you can just pull it apart. Yep. By the way, when the classic comes, I'm gonna have to stay my behind inside because them dudes with the barbecue smokers, they put them on the back of their trucks. The big ones, the big black ones that look like they belong to be pulled by a train. Boy, that barbecue smoke be filling the air. And then they serve it with a side of mac and cheese. And I'm talking about the baked mac and cheese, the kind you got to cut into a square and serve it. Oh my God, it's so good. But unfortunately, my broke behind can't get it. And they don't take food stamps. Damn. Anyway. Let me see here. Sean says they need to just demolish that stadium, focus on affordable housing, and stop relying on people's homes for parking. I mean, look, why not just, instead of putting all that money in for that stadium, why not just give the money to the people in the area? Maybe we can start businesses that would actually help the area, but no. All right. Jimmy Apples says, keep smashing JB. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. And all right, Repo says EDC isn't even great electronica. My snotty opinion, LOL, damn OG raver and me. I've always wanted to go. I'm a big trance fan. Like trance, house, drum and bass, all that stuff. Like I love that stuff, but I can never go. And you can hear the music for like miles. It's so loud. Oh, wait. I want to make sure I get this. Roger says, JB, do you make a banging turkey chili? If so, then maybe you should send me some and build a business around it, work a co-op. That sounds like a good idea. Turkey chili. Turkey. Oh my gosh. I can do it with ground turkey too. That sounds really good right now. Over some white or brown rice. And now, and because of Savvy, she low-fat Greek yogurt instead of sour cream. And now I don't even buy sour cream no more. Ooh, that sounds good. Oh my gosh. No, Roger, why you do this to me? Somebody call 911. All right, and Roger says, an idea I was for mutual aid to do those outside barbecue to feed everyone for free. Use that to gather signatures for a CBI instead of you going to them. Have them come to you. I mean, that's a good idea. I mean, that's what Rome and Nick do. Is like they'll have a barbecue. They'll get a grill out and they'll start grilling food and stuff. Yeah, they do that. It's pretty cool. So yeah, but yeah, that turkey chili, that turkey chili sounds slamming, and I can season. And by the way, like we always say, if you ain't sneezing, it ain't season. All right. My goodness. Okay, folks. We're about to get into the final segment. Oh, Lord, I can't believe I got to talk about this fool. This couch lover. I got to talk about him. All right. Let's get into this. So, we talked about EBT cards are going to say insufficient funds on November 1st. Then we talked about how the city of Orlando just does not want to prioritize the neighborhood around it, around a stadium that they want to upgrade. But now we're going to be talking about this whole debacle with this group chat. And JD Vance is saying they're just kids. Let's get into this. And public face, private truth. The one-eyed buck truth. Is anybody surprised? I'm not surprised. Are you surprised? Are you? No. No, no, no. Don't be surprised. You live in the United States. You know better. People should know by now that the Republican Party got a lot of racism in it. Now, so does the Democratic Party. I'm not absolving them, but this whole debacle that just happened, the Republican Party got a ton of racism, a lot of it, and it shows because there was a text chat, a group chat that was leaked, and this group chat were full of young Republican Party operatives that were saying some of the most vile, bigoted things that you could say. And now they're caught. But some people are taking it one way and some people are taking it another. You want to guess where J.D. Vance is taking it? We all know. But I want to get into this because I think it's really important. Because I think it's worth noting that this particular issue, it just shows us that this country remains divided because it wants to keep people at each other's throats, and it uses things like racism, white supremacy, anti-blackness, xenophobia, queerphobia, ableism, misogyny, misogynoir. It uses all these different things in order to keep us divided as a people so that we do not actually come together to really create a brand new system that is for everybody. But I want to share this article that just recently came out of Politico. And so everybody's talking about this, so am I. So it says Trump nominee says MLK Jr. holiday belongs in hell and that he has Nazi streak according to texts. Paul Ingracia's bid to lead a whistleblower agency is set for a Senate confirmation hearing Thursday. So this is from Paul Ingracia. He said MLK Jr. was the 1960s George Floyd, and his holiday, quote unquote, should be ended and tossed into the seventh circle of hell where it belongs. And then somebody responded with Jesus Christ. So let's take a look at this. Paul Ingracia, President Donald Trump's embattled nominee to lead the Office of Special Counsel, told a group of fellow Republicans in a text chain that the Martin Luther King Jr. holiday should be tossed into the seventh circle of hell, and said that he has a Nazi streak, according to the text chat viewed by Politico. Ingracia, who has a Senate confirmation hearing scheduled Thursday, made the remarks in a text chain with half a dozen Republican operatives and influencers, according to the chat. They said, so I already read about what they said about MLK Jr. being 1960s George Floyd. This is Paul Ingracia, an Italian guy. Oh my gosh, go back 100 years, he wouldn't even be considered white. Anyways, he said, using an Italian slur for black people, Ingracia wrote a month earlier in the group chat seen by Politico, no, and I'm not going to read that word because I don't know if I'm going to get hit by something on YouTube, but no blank holidays from Kwanzaa to MLK Jr. Day to Black History Month to Juneteenth. He said every single one needs to be eviscerated. Said Politico interviewed two people in the chat that granted them anonymity after they expressed concerns about personal and professional repercussions. One retained the messages and showed the text chain in its entirety to Politico, which independently verified that the number listed on the chain belongs to Ingracia. The person said he came forward because he wants the government to be staffed with experienced people who are taken seriously. The second person has since deleted the chain and didn't recall specifics about it, but they confirmed the discussions took place. So somebody, like the lawyer's like, Looks like those texts could be manipulated or be provided with material context omitted. However, arguendo, even if the texts are authentic, it clearly read as self-deprecating and satirical humor, making fun of the fact that liberals outlandishly and routinely call MAGA supporters Nazis. So that's what the lawyer said. It says, in reality, Mr. Ingracia has incredible support for the Jewish community because Jews know that Mr. Ingracia is the furthest thing from a Nazi. Interesting. In a subsequent statement to Politico a few days later, Polzic called out anonymous critics trying to hurt Ingracia. The lawyer said in the stage of AI authentication and allegedly leaked messages, which could be outright falsehoods, doctored or manipulated, or lacking critical context, is extremely difficult. What is certain, though, is that there are individuals who cloak themselves in anonymity while executing their underhanded personal agendas to harm Mr. Ingracia at all costs. We do not concede the authenticity of any of those purported messages. Of course they don't. In May 2024, the group was bantering about a Trump campaign staffer who had been hired in Georgia and who was working on outreach to minority voters when Ingracia suggested that she didn't show enough deference to the founding fathers being white, according to the chat. It says Paul belongs in the Hitler Youth with the Obergruppenführer Steve Bannon. That's what they said. And then Paul Ingracia says, I do have a Nazi streak in me from time to time. I will admit it. And says one of the people in the text group said in an interview that Ingracia's comment was not taken as a joke. And 3 participants pushed back against Ingracia during the text exchange that day. So Paul Ingracia laughed at has middle name being doctored as Adolf, which is interesting for him to laugh at. The existence of the messages come as Ingracia's nomination to lead the Office of Special Counsel, an agency that investigates federal employee whistleblower complaints and discrimination claims, among other sensitive work, is already in trouble. So he's trying to be the person that oversees that investigation of federal employee whistleblower complaints. But is anybody surprised? I'm not surprised. You should be surprised. Your friend next to you shouldn't be surprised. Your girlfriend shouldn't be surprised. Your boyfriend shouldn't be surprised. Your kid shouldn't be surprised. And neither should your dog. This is America. My question is, why are we still following these political parties when we know that both parties don't give a damn about people, especially those of us who are marginalized? Why are we still stuck with them? Why are we sticking with them? Both political parties, one overtly bigoted and the other one covertly bigoted, express the same ideas. Let's continue on. It says, earlier this month, Politico reported that Ingracia, who is 30 years old, we're going to talk about that in a little bit, right? That's why I put emphasis on the 30, dirty 30, has been the subject of an internal investigation at the Department of Homeland Security, where he works as White House liaison, after a sexual harassment complaint was filed against him. The woman who filed the complaint later withdrew it and said that there was no wrongdoing. Ingracia's attorney denied the allegations. In July, Republican senators delayed Engracia's nomination hearing, with one airing concerns about some statements about anti-Semitism. Paul Engracia allegedly said, "Never trust a Chinaman or Indian. Never," end quote. Engracia made other racist remarks regarding, according to the chain. In January of last year, he said he wrote former presidential candidate Vivek Ramaswamy. He said, "Never trust a Chinaman or Indian." It says Ramaswamy, the son of Indian immigrants, declined to comment. Now, hang on, let me say something. Vivek Ramaswamy has no intestinal fortitude. None. No guts, no bravery to push back. And you should have known he didn't when Ann Coulter told her that she wouldn't vote for him because he was Indian to his face. No intestinal fortitude. He does not have nerves of steel. If he had nerves, that are probably the consistency of cotton candy. Don't drop it in the water, Vivek. Because how in the hell are you going to not have any comments on somebody expressing this bigotry and you don't say anything? What if that were a Democrat? Oh, he'd be all chopping the gums and everything right now. But because of partisanship, he ain't got much to say. And it's the same thing with people who are Democrats too. The hypocrisy is clear to the heavens. My gosh. Ann Coulter told him to his face because he was Indian, she would not vote for him. Oh my gosh. What a wuss. Says a month later, discussing why some Republicans feel that Democrats make black people Democrats make black people into victims. The text show Engracia remarked, he said this, quote, "Blacks behave that way because that's their natural state. You can't change them," end quote. Then he added, he said, quote, "Proof all of Africa is a shithole and will always be that way," end quote. That dude's racist. But is anybody surprised? Don't be. So one of the participants says, "Paul, you're coming across as a white nationalist, which is beneficial to nobody." And Gracia said that defending our founding isn't white nationalist. He said reflexively went to saying the participant pushed back, saying, and Gracia reflexively went to saying whites built the country. And Gracia thinks that they did build the country. That comment prompted the same participant to respond, "You're going to be in private practice one day. This ish will be around forever, brother." And Gracia said, "We should celebrate white men and white civilization, and I will never back down from that." That's what he said. Third participant in the group criticized Engracia's white nationalist tone, and then he said he was coming across as with a tinge of racism. A tinge? That must have been a white person saying that, because there ain't no tinge. That's like somebody chopping off their arm and saying, "Oh, it's nothing but a flesh wound." Like, what? Says the second participant then said he sounded like a scumbag, which Engracia allegedly replied, "Nah, it's fine. Don't be a boomer. I don't mind being a scumbag from time to time." He said, "We're going to make Kwanzaa illegal in the next Trump administration." Wow. He also said we need competent white men in positions of leadership. The founding fathers were all wrong that all men are created equal. We need to reject that part of our heritage. End quote. So this is basically these people laughing and basically having the time of their lives while being bigoted. This is a very interesting. Is it really revealing? Yeah, it just confirms what everybody else already knows. It just confirms it. But I want to get into what people are debating and what has been said. I want to share this as well because JD Vance downplayed this. And I'm going to ask again, is anybody surprised? If you are, then that means your head has been in the sand for a long time. So, let's get into this.
Especially, the reality is that kids do stupid things, especially young boys. They tell edgy, offensive jokes. Like, that's what kids do. And I really don't want us to grow up in a country where a kid telling a stupid joke, telling a very offensive stupid joke, is cause to ruin their lives.
Hang on. Kids? What did I just read in the article? I didn't know 30 was a kid. When was the last time 30 was a kid? Remember one time, I think I said this a few times, when I spoke about this. In the Black community, we're always aged up. Our innocence is usually diminished. But at the same time, white people, particularly a lot of white women too, but white men are aged down. They're given more credence to innocence than what they already have. So JD Vance basically calling him he's just a boy age. That dude that made those remarks is only 10 years younger than us. Me and JD Vance are the same age. That dude is literally, I was only 11 years old when that dude was born. That dude was born in what, 1995? It's 2025, bro. He's a grown ass man, and JD Vance is like that boy. If he's just a boy who did foolish things, then I guess that we have to make an excuse for the alleged shooter, Luigi Mangione, because he was just a boy. Oh, but they don't want to. By the way, him and Luigi Mangione are both Italian. So, you know what I mean? It's crazy. this is the problem with people, especially, when it comes to partisan politics, is that they will make excuses for one and not the other. And then they won't apply the same standards across the board. But at the same time, I'm like, bro, like, why don't you just on the bus? Anyway, let's go.
That's what kids do. Vice President J.D. Vance earlier today commenting again on a Politico story involving members of young Republicans organizations and thousands of leaked messages where they're seen exchanging hate, racist, and homophobic texts. The vice president choosing there not to condemn the messages, instead dismissing it as, quote, what kids do, and that, quote, kids do stupid things, especially young boys.
Boys will be boys. This boys, they just do boyish things. He's a boy, Meanwhile, that boy is old enough to have a kid that's starting middle school. Weird, right? JD, what are you doing, pal?
The organization in question is for Republicans between the ages of 18 and 40. Kids. Anyway, according to Politico, the Telegram group chats involve Republican operatives and, at least one case, an elected official. Inside those messages, one referred to black people as, quote, monkeys and, quote, watermelon people. One talked about sending political opponents to gas chambers. Another called rape, quote, epic. Prominent Republicans like Congresswoman Elise Stefanik were quick to condemn the messages. The young Republicans denounced the text as vile and inexcusable. Politico reports that at least one person lost their job, while another had a job offer rescinded. At least two of the people involved have apologized. My panel is back. The Arena text chain is also with us. Tolu, I want to sort
of... I'll put it this way. All the black folks, and particularly black Americans, that decided they were going to go either one side of the duopoly or the other, and particularly I'm talking about the ones that decided to vote for Donald Trump and the Republicans. Please don't come and tell me, well, the Democrats do the same thing. We know that. This is why I say leave the duopoly. This is why I say walk away from both parties. Because both parties have anti-blackness. Both parties have racism. Both parties have bigotry. They both do. So why are we sticking with either or? Is there a Democrat plantation? Yes. Is there a Republican plantation? Also yes. Two things can be true at the same time. So why are you still picking their cotton in their fields? Trying to get in the house? Thinking you light-skinned enough to be one of their kids? What in the world is wrong with you? Get off both plantations, the red and the blue, because they all just want to whip us. This is not a left versus right. This is a up versus down. This is a top versus a bottom. This is rich versus poor. That's what it is. This is the exploiter versus the exploitee. This is what they think about us. This is the people who they hire. This is the people who they recruit.
start with you on the big picture. You spent a lot of time thinking and writing about how race and politics intersect here. And the coarsening of the discourse that is seen on display in these texts is really, well, how do you interpret the reality that these groups, these groups of people felt like this was an appropriate thing to do?
Well, it's shocking to see this in public. You have to imagine that this does happen from time to time in these private group chats. I don't want to say that this is representative of all young Republicans, not at all, but it is something that has become more common, and it's something that Donald Trump, if we have to mention the president here, the leader of the party, has made more common. He talks about...
Hang on. Let me ask you something. If you're surprised, if you're shocked, what? This country is 250 years old, and you're talking about you're shocked. Oh my God, I'm shocked. I'm shocked. Oh, where have you been? Shadow slavery, Jim Crow, mass incarceration, black codes, red light. Oh, baby. What in the world? This is why I keep asking, are any of you surprised? If you are, then why? And please do not come in here and be like, this is not who we are. This is who we are. This has been, look, a country founded on genocide, of course, is going to act like this. Where the hell do you think Israel gets it from? And of course, people like Jaybefaunt going to downplay it like, oh my goodness, they were just a bunch of kids. You know, they're just talking and saying stupid stuff in the text chat. It's not going to make them regret what they said. They're just going to be more careful about not saying it because they're going to keep that stuff covert. That's all it's really going to do. They're not actually going to feel remorse after what they say because it's so inculcated in their brain to be this way. And I'm talking about the overt racism. Now you have the covert racism of the Democratic Party. And the thing is like that covert racism is more like a, oh, well, see, they don't know what to do. They're not smart enough. So we got to be there to help them. We got to save them. So that's the Democratic Party. The Republican Party is they ain't shit. They ain't never gonna be shit, and they ain't never gonna have shit. That's both parties in a nutshell. So, are you surprised? I'm damn sure not.
Out very coarse language when he talks about his political opponent. Condemnation from someone like Jaybefaunt saying that these are just kids, they're just being edgy. And there is a difference between when someone says something that's offensive, that's from a different party. Those kinds of people, in the minds of Donald Trump and his allies, they get deported or they get shunned or they get told that they need to lose their jobs. You have to remember what happened after Charlie Kirk was murdered. There is an opportunity for leaders to condemn both sides. If someone on your side says something that's horrendous and offensive, you can condemn it while also condemning it happening on the other side. But there is a certain sense of hypocrisy that if something happens among my political allies, they're just kids and they need to be forgiven and given a lot of grace. If someone on the opposite side of the aisle says something that's offensive, they need to get the hammer put down on them.
So he does make a good point there. I will say this. Because how many people were up in arms over somebody saying some unsavory things about the assassination of Charlie Kirk? How many people were saying something? How many people of these same people were calling for the firing and the arrests and deportations of people who said what they said about Charlie Kirk? And yet, are we doing the same thing for these young human beings that decided to let their freak flag of bigotry fly. No, not really. Or the vice president will make excuses for them and say, well, they're just boys and boys do stupid things. I agree. Boys do super stupid things. They do. At the same time, when you go down this road, that means it's something that's been inculcated in your mind, and that's something inside your heart. And in positions of power, that leads to institutional and systemic institutional power and systemic oppression, suppression, ostracizing continuously. So those of us who are marginalized, because as the good book says, out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. And they said it within the privacy of their own cohorts, thinking that nobody else will see it. Like my mama always says, what is dirty will come out in the wash. And guess what? It's out now. So, this guy is going to have a position in government where he's going to be going to a confirmation hearing, a Senate confirmation hearing, to be part of the U.S. government. And he has the other ideas. And some people, especially a lot of liberals, are saying, oh my God, he's going to be in that position of government. Meanwhile, I mean, a lot of y'all confirmed a lot of Trump's appointments already. Overwhelmingly so. Y'all didn't put up a fight for that. And then on top of that, y'all still honor the founding fathers, who were even worse racists than that guy. They were even, child traffickers. Hello, Thomas Jefferson. And so that's part of the cognitive dissonance as well that a lot of people want to talk about. The founding fathers were immoral and criminal men. I said what I said. Go cry to your big bone mama about it. I don't care. The founding fathers were degenerates and perverts. Oh, you're going to cry because I said something about the founding fathers. So what? It's the truth. They led genocidal campaigns against the Native Americans. They're no different than the supremacists that try to claim land over there in occupied Palestine. They're no different. Are we really surprised? Are we really going to act surprised for this one?
I'm going to play for you, Toulouse, something else that J.D. Vance said here today. We'll watch it because I think it plays into the point Toulouse was just making. Take a look.
We're not canceling kids because they do something stupid in a group chat. And if I have to be the person who carries that message forward, I'm fine with it. And by the way, if they were left-wing kids telling stupid left-wing jokes, I would also not want their lives to be ruined because they're saying something stupid in a private
Oh, but wait, JD. All right. What if they're saying from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free while on a college campus while expressing their First Amendment rights? Are you going to say that they shouldn't be canceled for expressing their First Amendment rights while on a college campus? Especially if it's a public college campus. Are you going to say that? hypocrisy of it all. The hypocrisy. See, this is the thing. This system, it pits groups against one another so that it can keep the same systems in place so that we end up going after each other by the throat. And one of the tools that it uses is different forms of bigotry, because it wants you to look at your fellow citizen, neighbor, even if that person may be undocumented, it wants you to look down on them and say, well, you're not good enough because you have this different trait or different status, so therefore we're going to treat you like crap. And so then we end up doing that, and it ends up keeping the working class divided. Hell, they're even doing psyops to make sure the black community is divided. What do they do to black immigrants? They tell black immigrants that black Americans ain't shit. We've lived on this country for 400 years and we still haven't made much of ourselves. And so then they treat us like that. And then we're given a psyop of telling us that, oh man, look at these black immigrants coming over here. They don't like us. And then they came from Africa, and Africa hasn't been able to build itself up. So they ain't shit. And so then we look at them in some kind of way, and they look at us in some kind of way, and then we're at each other's throats. And then we say, well, they didn't want to unite with us, so we don't want to unite with them. And it keeps the black community divided. We could even go just in the freedmen community, how black female freedmen versus black male freedmen are even divided among ourselves too. Let's not get into the LGBTQ freedmen versus the straight freedmen. Oh, that's a whole another divide there too. And then on top of that, you got people who are versus other immigrants. Then you got the people who are middle class versus working class. Then you have the neurodivergent versus the neurotypical. Then you have the white women versus the the white women versus the white men. And it divides and divides and divides and divides and divides until the point where you're just alone. Because you've been told who your enemy was by the parasite class. And they will use bigotry in order to keep us divided, because then you start to believe the scapegoating that they pushed on us. And then you start saying things like some of these young men do in your mind and in your heart, and then next thing you know, you start to believe it. And then once you start to believe it, guess what happens? You don't want to unite with them in order to fight for a better world. And then do we get a better world? Do we get a better country? Do we get to change the foundations of it so that it's actually more equal, equitable, and have dignity for all? No. And then everything stays the same, or it continuously gets progressively worse. And that's part of the problem. So when we talk about doing mutual aid and building dual power and do all these things, it means that you have to put the bigotry that we may have aside. And everybody has it. We all do. We all have bigotry in some way, shape, or form. Some of us have it a little bit more than others, and some of us still have some decolonizing to do in our minds. I know I still do. Problem is that, are we going to allow that colonization within our minds and hearts to continue so that we end up still staying divided? We got to work through it. We got to look inward.
First of all, having a role where you're representing the public, losing that role, it's not having your life ruined. It's having accountability for saying something when you're representing people. That's the same thing that people called for when people were, saying negative things about Charlie Kirk, who were representative of the public in their own private Facebook chats or Facebook messages. That was what Republicans were calling for back then. So it's called accountability. It's not called ruining people's lives. But it is important to note that some of these vile, racist, and homophobic languages that we see in these chats, they do cause harm for a lot of people. They do stem from a place, and for people who have power, who want to exert political power to espouse these views, that often filters into policymaking. It's not just being edgy in a group chat. This is how people are seeing and dehumanizing people, and it does lead to policy differences that actually impact people's lives. So it's important to know that it's not just kids in a group chat being edgy. These are potential future leaders who have important roles.
It could be the Attorney General now.
Oh, now I will say this: while he's correct in that, I didn't see the same rhetoric happening during the Democratic National Convention last year, when a bunch of people who were Democrats were being pleaded with by Palestinian protesters, and they were talking about the ages of all the people who were being massacred and murdered in Palestine, how Democrats were actually mocking the protesters about the ages of the little children that were being massacred by Israel on the ground. Have they also been held accountable for mocking the deaths of children? Remember what I said? It's both parties. Are you listening? One is overt, one is covert. I'm telling you right now, y'all. One has overt bigotry, the other one has covert bigotry. One is racist in front of you, and the other one is racist behind you. Message. And so that's why it is so important for people to realize that this system is not doing us any good, and we have to put bigotry behind us. So I think that is the long and short of it, right? We have so many people that will make excuses from one party or the other, when in reality, we need to stop with trying to make excuses and just push for something better for everybody. So let's go into this as well. There's a lot of people are having debates. But my thing is, it's like, look, if you're going to have debates about this, you better be ready to call it your own party too. Because if you're not ready to call it your own party, then you're just yelling into the wind. You're just a clashing symbol. Let's listen to this.
To vociferously
has a history of racism himself.
No, that's not true.
Are you kidding me?
Sorry,
Donald Trump started his career with racism. In the 1970s, he was sued for housing discrimination. In 1989, he was a part of he led the lynch mob against the Central Park Five. In the 1990s, he was sued by casino workers for racial discrimination. He led a 5.5-year campaign against Barack Obama for allegedly not having an accurate birth certificate. Donald Trump came in office talking about he was going to ban Muslims, and he was called Mexicans were supposedly bringing drugs. Donald Trump has a long history. You didn't deny anything of the things I just said. Donald Trump just this year said that he's allowing white South Africans to come to the United States, but not black South Africans. What could be more racist than that?
Why did the majority of Latino men?
Okay. While, yes, the gentleman is right. We've known Donald Trump has been racist the entire time. And don't come to me with, oh, he's taking pictures with black men. Slaveholders sexually assaulted black female slaves. That doesn't mean they like them. Anyways, so while that is true, at the same time, that does not absolve Democrats of theirs as well. Do you want to talk about Joe Biden? Do you want to talk about Kamala Harris? And yes, black people, well, some people debate whether Kamala Harris is black or not. But anyways, black people within the Democratic Party can also exhibit anti-blackness and white supremacist ideology as well. So let's not miss that point. But yes, Donald Trump has had very strong racist proclivities for a long time. So therefore, we cannot sit here and, like this lady is trying to do, oh my goodness, he has the most multiracial call. No. Don't you dare do the identity politics on the Republican side now. Especially since y'all were so against it back in a couple of years ago. No, ma'am, have a seat, please, for your sake, so you don't get egg on your face. She gets egg on her face, she'll probably look like Peter Thiel. Sweaty ass billionaire. Anyways, but that's the point, right? So let's continue. It's so funny. This is hilarious.
Majority of Latino men vote for him. Why did 25% of black men vote for him?
It was not 25%, and still, black people are the most loyal group against Donald Trump. In fact, because we clearly could see through the charade that he was putting up. Donald Trump has a 50-year history of racism. Why did the majority
of Hispanic men vote for him? If he's
I'm not a Hispanic person. I can tell you, as a black man, that Donald Trump is a racist. That's unquestionable.
I don't agree with that.
All right, let me just. There's a statement.
It's not about whether you hold on, wait. This is the part that really gets me. It's like, I don't agree that he's racist. I'm like, I'm sorry, ma'am. You are a white woman, and you're telling a black man whether you think somebody is racist or not, and he's actually giving you multiple examples, and the only thing you can point to is, well, a lot of Latino men actually voted for him. There's also a lot of anti-blackness within the Latino community. Hello? Oh, no. You ain't doing that right here. No. Granted, he's tapped into for the Democratic Party, which I got some words for him too. But ma'am, you need to sit down and just listen and humble yourself. I say this to anybody that's white. Let me tell you right now, when black people see the microaggressions and racism and they actually call it out, you might need to take a listen. Now, is it always, it should be taken with a grain of salt, because especially black liberals, sometimes they'll use that as a way to silence people who are actually right on the issues when it comes to certain things. Or sometimes somebody who's white will say the right thing, but they'll say it in a way that's kind of out of pocket. And it's like, you probably shouldn't have said it that way. Or you probably should have just, like step aside and let us say it. Anyways, this lady saying what she's saying, it's like, well, I don't agree. It's not up for you to agree or not. It is objectively true. I don't give a damn whether you agree or not. It is objectively true. Yes, he's racist. Every single U.S. president is a white supremacist. I did not stutter. I did not misspeak. I'm saying it full chest, 10 toes down. If I had 11, then I would have put 11 down. Because none of them have ever given a damn about black people. None of them. Even Lincoln. What did Lincoln say? If I can keep the union together while not having to free the blacks, then I definitely would. He said that. I'm talking about, I'm paraphrasing, but he basically said that. They all push white supremacy in some way, shape, or form. They all push anti-blackness in some way, shape, or form, including some Dem socks. Their guy, Franklin Delano Roosevelt. Yeah. None of them were really a friend to black people. We may have thought it at the time because, we fell for the okie doke. I'm pretty sure that some of my, great-grandmother and grandmother and them probably fell for the okie doke with the JFK. But we know now, they still weren't completely down with us. So to think that, oh my God, Donald Trump's not racist, stop. Now, to Mr. Boykin. Well, yes, you're correct about Donald Trump. You got to clean up your own house too, because the call is coming from inside the house. Have you heard of Joe Biden? Him and Donald Trump are cut from the same cloth. And please don't give me the Kamala Harris is a black woman, so she wouldn't be against. Look, black faces in high places were not going to save us. And guess what? They have been traitors to us ever since chattel slavery too. So let's get that clear. Talk to the black people in California about Kamala Harris. Oh, they'll let you know. So neither party gives a damn about us. And when it comes to bigotry, it is within both parties. I hope I made that abundantly clear. And let's not go, well, one's slightly better than the other. We're not going to do slightly better than the other. We're done with that. We're done with it. We're not doing it no more. It's over. It's over. It's over now. Move over. It's my turn now. It's over. The game's shut down. Sorry. Nah, we ain't doing that no more. All right. And so JD Vance, he can make as many excuses as he wants. I mean, he'll probably make excuses for how much he likes sofas and couches too, but hey, it is what it is. But look, we're not going to continue on down this road of being, oh, the Democrats are less racist and the Republicans are more racist and blah, blah, blah. One's just covert and one's just overt. One does it in front of your face and one does it behind your back. Because let me tell you something, baby. Let me show you. This is also racist. Democrats kneeling in kente cloth instead of actually doing substantive, concrete, tangible change for Black Americans. They ain't doing nothing either. It's all performative. So I rest my case. But look, y'all got to realize, like, don't be surprised at what these either parties do. But when it comes to what happened in that text group chat, that's just par for the course within the United States government. This is why the system needs to be changed fundamentally. Because as long as we have the anti-blackness and the homophobia and the misogyny and the misogynoir, as long as we continue to have the queerphobia and the real anti-Semitism, because anti-Semitism does exist, is just the anti-Semitism that the Zionists are talking about is not actually as prevalent as they say it is. And plus, Zionists are also anti-Semitic against Palestinians because Palestinians and Arabs are actually Semites. Anyways, I don't want to digress too much, but let's be real. Like, the bigotry is strong in both areas, but it is noticeably strong within the GOP. So don't be surprised. I don't need you to be surprised. I just need you to be careful. Leave both parties. Let's get together. Let's do mutual aid. Let's build dual power. Let's change the system fundamentally so we all can have dignity in the correct way that is concrete and real. Like the stream. All right, let's get into the final chats. Let's go into, let's see if they have any. All right, so no Rumble Rants there. Let's see if I have a gifted subs and kick. Ooh, I haven't scrolled down. All right, so All right. Oh, I went back to that turkey chili comment from Roger. Now I'm thinking about it. All right. Edwards says, this is why the working class can't unite when there's still racism. It will always divide us. The Black Panthers were able to unite the Confederate workers when the white workers to stop their racism. So it was the Young Patriots. They did use Confederate iconography because they thought it was just about heritage. The Black Panthers told them that it is really a symbol of racism. And they said, if you really want united with us in order to be able to combat this system, you need to change your ways and get rid of the Confederate racist iconography, which they did. And then the Black Panthers were like, okay, now we can unite with you guys because you guys are actually making efforts to change so that we can unite. It wasn't before, it was after, meaning that, look, let me tell you something. And you're definitely in the right area, Everett. People will not unite with you if they feel that, one, your opinions and views of them threaten their existence, and or two, if you do not respect them as a people and you look down upon them. People are not going to unite with you at all if you do not do one of those two things of respecting the resistance and letting them know that you're safe to be around. So if you got any of those bigoted views that people think that if they can't unite with you safely, they're not going to unite with you. This is why, I'm just going to put it out there for those of us men, if we got some traditional values, some of these values that we say that, women have to have a certain role, or we say that women have to know their place and blah, blah, blah. And we think these certain ways, bruh, you think that half of the workforce is going to unite with you? No. The same thing with people who are LGBTQ. They're not going to unite with somebody who thinks that, if given a chance, they're going to beat them up or kill them. Or if people, don't want them around them, don't even want to acknowledge their presence or their existence. They're not going to want to unite with people like that, who look down upon them like that. At the end of the day, we're all the proletariat. So therefore, we need to come together and unite. Now, you may have your disagreement, right? But you can still treat a person as a human being with dignity. If you're not willing to do that, then, well, good luck with uniting people. And this is why it's so important that you have to put those things to the side. In fact, not put them to the side. I misspoke. You need to throw that away. Fire Ripple says no one, and them acting like this is a one-off. Right? It is not a one-off, baby. Not at all. Kitty Gregors is in the chat. Good to see you. All right. Roger says Black people on X who keep going on and on about them starting the KKK and recognize white supremacy is bipartisan. When Dems I emphasize party abolition. They do it to push us into the GOP. Okay. When they brag about GOP freed the slaves, remind them those specifically were radical Republicans who believe in fighting for reparations. So are you going to press the GOP on that? Good question, Roger. Good. All right. They should, but they're not going to want to. They're like, oh, we don't need to give you guys reparations. Then it's like, then you're not like those radical Republicans. Sit down, shut up, and pick up a book. Good to see a non-user coming in saying, Luigi, yep. Sean says, J.D. Vance is such a clown. Yep, he is definitely a clown. Roger says, this is why coalition politics and movements that is based on working class issues will never happen because they see freedmen as below them, including Black non-freedmen. I think it goes both ways. I think it's because there's a psyop done on both of us, on both groups, unfortunately, and we're both like falling. Both groups are falling for it. It's sad. A non-user says, "Doo-wop exits." Kigger says, "South Park nails JD Vance." Cat says, "Preach, brother JB." Good to see you, Cat T. All right. Sean says, "Kick is offline." What? I can see things going. It still says streaming. We're good. Maybe refresh. Hopefully that'll work. Let me see. Wait. Honest says, "No difference at all. It is a matter of fact. American settlers inspired the Nazis and Zionists." H. Lokil, good to see you. Says, "Hello all. Good to see you." Roger says, "You know what, JB? I don't even mind if people want to come here from other countries and not want to deal with us. They just need to keep themselves and stay within their communities." But that's nearly impossible. Like, you have to deal with other people. That's the only thing. Sean Rocker says, "Sit down, trumpet Barbie." Oh my gosh. Bryce says, "Nah, JB, she's Indian. She ain't black until it's convenient. Bathtub greens is diabolical. I do not believe in seasoning my collard greens with Comet cleanser." I'll just put it that way. Lauren says, "In 2013, Trump stated a government shutdown means the president is weak. Since then, he became the person who was president during the second two longest shutdowns in U.S. history." Okay, so 2018, 2019, and 2025. Oops. That's funny. All right. Let me see. Edward says, "Cuban with a beard." Who are you talking about? Who are you talking about? Ann Garrison said, "I used to visit my retired parents in Arizona, where someone once knocked on the door and asked me to sign a petition to repeal MLK Jr.'s birthday in the state. I don't even know if a state can repeal a national holiday, but there were people trying." One of the people who was against it was actually Arizona Senator John McCain. He was actually against making it a birthday in the first place. Yep. So when Meghan McCain goes, "My father, my father, my father, my father," bring that up to her too. Yeah. It's crazy, man. It is ridiculous. Oh, Kate says, "Thank you, JB, for a show as fabulous as you are." Thank you. Appreciate it very much. I'm guessing the freezing and lag has went away. Chris coming in saying, "Is that hello a wave? Good to see you." All right. All right, folks. We are finished. It's time to go. Oh, you know what I forgot? I forgot to do the... Wait. Okay. I forgot to do the... I forgot to show you guys the poll. I'm sorry. All right. Let me show you guys the poll real quick. Let me see what we got in the poll. Uh-oh. All right. Oop. Let me see. Make sure this is big enough. All right. Let's take a look at the poll, guys. My apologies for getting to this kind of late, but I want to make sure I get to it. So out of 53 votes, has the government shutdown affected you directly? It's says yes, affected says 32%. 45% says I'm not sure yet. The United States or a citizen. So, and by U.S. citizen, not a citizen, I mean not a citizen outside the United States. That's what I mean. But they only allow me to put so many. But yeah. So some of us are going to be waiting until November 1st to see if this government shutdown keeps happening. If it does, and a lot of us are not going to get those food stamps. It's that those of us who get Social Security and Social Security disability, we're not going to see a lag in our benefits because somehow that's going to continue. But it's like, okay, but you guys are going to allow the SNAP benefits to stop? That doesn't sound right. You know what I mean? But yeah, that is something I think that we really need a whole brand new government, man. All right, guys. So, guys, got to get going. Please also make sure to go sign up for Savvy's newsletter because she will be doing the mutual aid class workshop that is going to be this Saturday on the 25th. Yeah. So this Saturday, the 25th, she'll be doing that, and I'll be there to help with teaching more about mutual aid. Make sure to let people know different mutual aid organizations within your general area, as well as show people where they can actually get food from food pantries, food banks, mutual aid programs, and the like, because ultimately we really got to help out our neighbors and keep them. We got to keep each other whole, man, especially during this system. So I went over my time, very over my time, but I appreciate you guys for tuning in. And let me see. I know I had something that I wanted to share. I saw this funny video and I was like, I should end with this. Wait, did I? Hang on. No. Dang it. Did I even like it? Oh, by the way, before I go, I'm not trying to pick on nobody, but I don't want you guys to be like this person. Because this person decided to make this video and they said what they said, and I think to myself, yeah, don't be like this person. So I'm gonna share this right before I go because I think no solidarity with the people. None at all. And this young lady or this young person, they really need a reality check. I hope that they realize that they need to have more solidarity with the people who are the poorest among us than these corporate dictators, especially like the Walton family. So let's just take a look at this.
Let me tell you something. And you think that you better come up in here and steal from the Wally world because you ain't getting no food stamps? I'm gonna call the police on you. I'm gonna call. They're on speed dial. I'm gonna call them expeditiously. Let me tell you something. And you think that you better come up in here and steal? I'm gonna call the police on you. I'm gonna call. They're on speed dial. I'm gonna call them expeditiously. I don't care. I don't.
It's a major chance that she would never lose her job, right? But a lot of people who are working class or who are impoverished, they're going to keep their distance from her. And it's not because they want to commit theft, but because you're a kind way, in a gentle way. In a race with compassion, in a race against compassion, you're winning. It's not even in your rearview mirror anymore. I think it's important for us to have more compassion for the people out there. I hope this person finds this out. Don't be like that. We need more compassion, especially for those who are the most disenfranchised. So I'll end with that. Everybody, water your plants, water yourselves, leave the world better than you found it. Do all the things if you got them. I love you guys and take care. Mwah! Forehead kisses. I'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you so much for watching, and I appreciate it from the top and bottom of my heart. If you'd like to see any more, you can look here. Mwah!